news, everyone.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I see dead people.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
And knowing is half the battle.
What, the deuce?
Must have the precious.
And I'll form the head!
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take it away!
What you talking about, Willie?
Wow, infotainment.
Welcome to Transmissions, where we talk all Hasbro, Takara, and third-party Transformers. On this episode, the beautiful B-Plus team talks HasLab, the good, the bad, and the lab.
Welcome to this super secret episode of Transmissions. While the A team is away recording, the B-Plus team sneaks in for the win. I am Snazzy Mike, and I'm joined by the excellent, beautiful Transmissions team. Char, a.k.a. Robo Apollo.
They say B is for beautiful. Hi, everyone. And
the illustrious Dr. Pants.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here. That was lame. It was lame, but it's okay. It's okay. We don't need a material.
Yeah. Saw what you did there with that.
All right, everyone. Well, we are here to talk about HasLab, the good and the bad, and especially the lab of HasLab. And this conversation is going to be more in general about HasLab, because I'm sure we've all spoken about our experiences with HasLab on the main show, especially with the Transformers releases. So we're going to mention them, certainly. I know I haven't gotten a chance to talk anything about Omega Prime on the main show. But yeah, I think we're gonna talk about just everything about HasLab. Some of the good stuff that we've experienced, maybe some of the issues that have popped up, maybe some of our disappointments for it, and just what the future is going to be for HasLab. You know, where's it going? What's it been doing? And just where are we going to go from here? Anything that you guys want to add in before we jump into the conversation?
No, let's do this.
Yeah, let's just start. I'm sure I'll have thoughts as things come out, but in general, I have no thoughts. Brain empty, no thoughts.
Excellent. You know what they say, when the brain is empty, it can be filled by other things? Question mark?
Yes, that is a saying. Very good.
All right, so a little bit of the history of HasLab. So the first release that came out for HasLab was the Jabba's sail barge for the Transformers? No, not the Transformers at all. For the Star Wars Vintage Collection. And it was incredibly successful. I'm sure that you two were paying attention when the sail barge came out. Am I correct on that?
No. I was not. I didn't even know it was a thing because I am so far removed from just Star Wars merchandise that I did not know it was a thing until I think after it had already succeeded, and they said, "Oh, it got funded," and I was like, "What got funded?" I looked into it, and I was just like, "Oh, that's cool."
So yeah, the sail barge came up in February of 2019, and it went for $500, which that was a big pill to swallow for pretty much anything, but that was pretty insane. I mean, they hit upon they hit upon bottled lightning on this one because it was successful and it funded. And if I remember right, it actually was it did come down to the wire a little bit. It wasn't a guaranteed, it wasn't just boom, done and ready to go. It was pretty close. Char, you were nodding before, so you remember the sail barge?
Yeah, I remember seeing an email about it because I'm on their email list. So I open the emails and I'll look at them. So I do remember seeing something about it, but I didn't actually click on anything about it because, I'd say I'm a casual Star Wars fan. I don't collect anything from it anymore. I used to when I was a lot younger, but I do remember seeing it.
All right. And just to kind of jump forward a little bit, just to kind of give us all just a very basic overview of all the stuff that HasLab has done. So the Jabba Sail Barge was the first one. Right after that, they tried a Cookie Monster, big stuffed animal campaign that, well, it didn't go well. No big surprise there because it was a $300 giant stuffed animal of the Cookie Monster. So we can talk about that in a minute, but that was the first failure. And I think Hasbro probably realized what was kind of going on, and they really need to kind of up their game and keep it up with HasLab stuff. But Star Wars had a whole bunch of releases. It had the Razor Crest from the Vintage Collection, from The Mandalorian. They attempted to make the Rancor for the Vintage Collection as well. They attempted to do the live action lightsaber, Reva's lightsaber, which did not succeed. A lot of failures so far for Star Wars. But it did come back with the Ghost very recently from the Vintage Collection from Rebels. So Star Wars primarily has been Vintage Collection stuff, the 3 3/4 inch figures. So that's primarily their big thing. Marvel has had a huge successful run with a lot of figures. Sentinel, Galactus, Giant Man, which just wrapped up. And the one that did not was the Ghost Rider set. It was a $350 Ghost Rider, the Engine of Vengeance.
I have no idea what they were thinking with that one. Like, it's a car, and it was one figure originally. That's what it was.
Yep.
It was a car and Robbie Reyes, which I am not super into the comics. I know Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider. I remember when he came about, but still, like, Ghost Rider is Johnny Blaze. That's going to be the Ghost Rider I think of. And I'm not saying Robbie Reyes should not have a figure, like he should, but $350 for a figure and a car? That is insane. Like, it is not that much plastic. It is not that many moving parts. That was bull crap. And then, now I will say that the tiers made sense because it added on a figure every tier. But the base price of $350, no. I looked at that and I said, no way is this it's not gonna make it. There's no way.
That actually gets to an interesting point that I've been thinking about for HasLab just in general. And I think that whatever they were thinking about for Ghost Rider, it's okay. Walk with me on this right here. So the amount of engineering that goes into something like a car, even if it has the lights and sound, because if I remember right, it actually did have some lights and sounds to it, and it had a whole bunch of little like flame accessories that came out of it and all that. So the engineering that goes into that versus the engineering that goes into something like a Sentinel or a Galactus, even if all of these things are equivalent in terms of the engineering and the design aesthetics that go into it, I think HasLab is kind of shooting themselves in the foot on that because the car is always going to be looked at as an accessory, whereas a Sentinel or Galactus is going to be looked at as like the main figure. And it's even if it's the same engineering, they're setting themselves up for failure in a case like that. It's just a figure versus what appears to be an accessory.
It's also a size factor because you look at the size of the Sentinel compared to the Ghost Rider car and everything. Like, that Sentinel is gigantic, and it was the same price as Ghost Rider. And there's going to be some people who look at that and they're like, it doesn't matter if it's got lights and sounds. Like, it is so tiny compared to like a bigger thing like the Sentinel or Galactus, which was only $50 more. Even Giant Man was cheaper and was still a much bigger. It's an eye catcher. The car is not going to be an eye catcher. I mean, maybe with the flames and everything on it, it'll catch some eye, but it's not that big of an impact of a display piece. And I think that's what really hurt it. On the note of the Cookie Monster, I did have thoughts on this because
I did too.
Okay, go for it.
It's it was basically a stuffed animal, correct? Like, it wasn't a puppet or anything.
Yeah.
It was just a big stuffed animal.
Nope.
Yeah.
a 3-foot tall stuffed animal. Yeah.
Right, which I get the appeal. There's going to be some Sesame Street people out there who really are into it, but at the same time, there are people out there who can make it.
Mm-hmm.
They can just, like, how hard is it to make a stuffed animal for yourself? You know? Any of the plastic stuff, like you could say, oh, I'm going to 3D print this, but the work that goes into that to get it to be exactly that and get the moving parts and everything is going to be insane. But a big stuffed animal, $300 for that? I don't think that was the way to go with that one.
Yeah, no, and I don't even think Cookie Monster is their most popular character. I believe it's Elmo.
Right.
I think, if it was like a Tickle Me Elmo, like one of those retro ones, like a retro Tickle Me Elmo in the retro packaging that traumatized many of our childhoods and other people's childhoods. Like, yeah, it needs to be something exclusive. And you're right. Like you could probably find someone on Etsy that would make a stuffed animal like that, and it's like a custom handmade thing versus something that if mass produced at $300, or like if it was a puppet, that would be totally different. If it's like a replica of the puppets they use on Sesame Street, then you're talking this is a showpiece.
Interesting. Okay.
I agree.
Let's see what else we got going on here. G.I. Joe has been had a big presence as well. So they've had vehicle sets for the classified series and for the Real American Hero line. So the first one they had was a Sky Striker reissue with a ton of accessories and something like 8 figures, like 8 3 3/4 inch figures. Quite a lot. It's a lot. They've since kind of moved on to the upgraded classified series vehicles. So the Hiss Tank was one of the big ones that came out a while back. And the Dragonfly finished up not too long ago. And I still think, at least as of this recording, they're still getting ready to ship that out. So still, it's a pretty strong showing for G.I. Joe. Now, as for some of the other things that we got going on, Ghostbusters has had a very limited presence with HasLab. They've had 2 kind of role play replica things, the Proton Pack, and they just wrapped up a PKE meter and Ghost Trap duo for a campaign. If I remember right, when the Proton Pack came out, the actual the gun, the what was it called, the neutrino wand or something?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
That wasn't part of the campaign. It was actually a completely separate thing you had to buy off of Hasbro Pulse. And that was just strange to me.
That's gougy. That feels gougy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of wrapping up just the overview on this one, we got a successful Hero Quest reissue, the Hero Quest board game.
Was that successful? Because on the thing you have it in red.
Yeah.
The Hero Quest was successful. Heroes
I'm sorry.
Was not.
I am sorry. Those are different things.
And you jumped ahead on me. And yes, so as you said, there's a Heroescape reissue that came out, or that attempted to come out a while back, and that did not succeed. So, yeah, 2 board games. And I think that's pretty much it for the Transformer stuff. We can talk about that in just a minute too. But yeah, the Hero Quest was interesting. It had been out of print since the 80s, I think. And then Heroescape has been out of print since, was it late 90s or early 2000s? Either of you guys actually had those games?
I knew of them.
I knew of them too.
But that's it.
Fair enough. I played Hero Quest once at a friend's house. I never had the original. So, I mean, that's cool. If you wanted it, great. Cool. It was a little pricey, but, whatever. Heroescape, I actually do still have the base set of that game. And it is hard as hell to find right now, too. It is it goes for a lot. They released a game a while back, Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers, that was kind of loosely based off of that. So there's there's 1 or 2 kind of like big things that I want to talk about. I think I touched on it just a little bit with the Ghostbusters stuff. Why don't we have any Ghostbusters campaigns. I mean, there's been several big release movies in the past couple of years, and the what was it called, the Plasma series, like their 6-inch figures. They had an entire set of those released of the original cast. They had a bunch of figures from the new movies. It just seems kind of rife for a really good like Firehouse set, or even like a really good Ecto 1 set or something. Like, why are we getting this? It seems to be a no-brainer.
My thought is that number one, we'd have to see the sales on the Plasma series and see how well that's doing, because maybe it's not selling as well as, say, Generations are for Transformers, or Marvel Legends for Marvel figures, or any of the G.I. Joe stuff, because the G.I. Joe stuff is doing really well. But those fans are starved for content. They need this. They need this. That, and I want to believe this. This is my thought on this, but if I'm going to go Ghostbusters, I mean, I would probably look into getting the old stuff, because they've been re-releasing the old stuff too, along with the Plasma series. Like, I was at Target and they had the, what were they called? It was the Ghostbusters where they had like some activation where it was like them scared and like their eyes jumped out of their head, or like their heads elongated and they're like screaming. But like, I don't know how big of a collector thing there is for like a collector grade or an affordable collector grade figure for Ghostbusters, because I don't see many people talking about that stuff at all. And I don't see Hasbro pushing it much. Like, we see stuff that they talk about the Transformers, they talk about Star Wars, they talk about G.I. Joe, especially like the classified line and everything. But I barely see them advertise anything for Ghostbusters. And I'm wondering if they just know there's a bigger market for the role play toys for Ghostbusters rather than a display piece like that. I don't know. I might just be rambling.
I think you bring up really good points. I think it's definitely like a business decision. I think these decisions are being made in boardrooms versus, what's best for the fandom. I'm sure that Hasbro follows social media, fandoms, the different fandoms for their different properties. And, they're keeping track of, what are people talking about? What are, what are people excited about? But they're also looking at the numbers. I'm guessing, what are people actually buying, and they're probably doing studies, and testing, I don't know what the actual process is for, like, how do they decide what HasLabs are being picked? Like, do they do like secret surveys with certain fans, or like podcasters or anything? Like, do they do that? Like, what are they doing to make the decision to invest in developing a HasLab product? Because there is, you brought this up at the beginning in the episode, Mike, there's a lot of engineering that's put into making even a prototype for these figures, and which is money. A lot of engineering is time, which is money. And so they must have some sort of data to back up that decision, like not maybe 100% of the data, but enough data where they're confident that they think it can be successful. And, I think you're right, Scott, about, them, the Ghostbusters fandom, maybe they're more into the cosplay pieces and things like that versus toys, like a display piece for a toy. Maybe it is more like props and things like that.
Interesting.
Another thing I'll bring up along with that, like doing the secret surveys, I forget when it got brought up, and it might have been when I was on another episode of Transmissions or talking with someone else, but it was funny that 2 of the 3 Transformers HasLabs we've had that have completed were Starsaber and Deathsaurus, who were also part of a survey about 5 years ago-ish, maybe a little bit before, when they were saying, choose the next Prime. And they were both options on that survey. And I'm wondering if they got enough votes that warranted them going, they didn't get enough votes to win, but there is some interest in these characters. Maybe we should consider that. Apollo, you might be right about like the secret surveys. And I don't get surveys on like G.I. Joe or Star Wars because I'm not purchasing that stuff. Hasbro is not trying to hit me with that. And you know, maybe there are somewhere, but I'm wondering if there are like things out there from the past where people got to vote on that stuff and it influenced this stuff.
I think so. Or they ask someone to ask about it on Twitter or something. And, you know, because I know there was a lot of discourse about Desaurus after we found out that there was Victory Saber coming out. And I know that was actually one of the reasons why I backed Victory Saber, because I really wanted Desaurus. So
gaming the system.
Yes.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a second. And I think the original intent of HasLab was to do these sets and these figures that just didn't have an easy market outside of a very, you know, Kickstarter-esque kind of model. You know, something like the like Unicron, something like the Razor Crest, or even like the Sail Barge. They're just really too big to go to retail, to easily go to retail. Because I mean, even if they did like the you know, like a price reduction for like a mass retail thing, even back then, you're still looking at something like $300, which is a really tough pill to swallow for just a retail store, especially considering the amount of shelf space these things are going to take up. But the entire point of HasLab was to do these kind of like big, crazy things. The things that, you know, like maybe not a whole lot of people are going to get, or not a whole lot of people would really be keen to buy at a store. But I think that makes actually a perfect example, a perfect case for doing something like a Firehouse or like an Ecto-1 or something, or even something, I haven't touched on it much, but even something with like Power Rangers. Like Hasbro has the rights to do Power Rangers toys, like because they have the Lightning Collection, the 6-inch figures for Power Rangers, and they haven't touched that for HasLab at all. And I would imagine that even though like these sets are pricey, that is the kind of point of it too, isn't it? The point is to get these really big, unusual sets into collectors' hands without having to worry about the retail gatekeeper kind of effect.
I have a counterpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And that counterpoint is the price tag shouldn't matter much, considering for Transformers, we have the Masterpiece line, which are incredibly, you know, pricey, especially with something like, was it MP44? Was that the Optimus Prime? I mean, that was almost a $500 figure.
Damn.
And it did pretty well as far as I know. Like, it must have sold pretty well because I never saw it go on sale. I never saw a price reduction. The only thing I've seen is a price reduction in that there is a new version without all the extra crap, and it's almost $300.
Yeah.
So I look at Unicron and I'm like, I bet if they had just been like, hey, here's Unicron, and maybe if they had knocked it down to 500, I bet it would have been fine. And you could have gone through online retailers, because the other thing is, well, Unicron is like a Generations figure, and it is a toy, like not necessarily the masterpiece, like display piece it could be. It was a toy. It was a Generations figure. It's for collectors.
Sure.
Kids are not gonna want Unicron, because like Unicron has not been a factor in any of the kids' media in a long time in an important way. The people who know Unicron are the people who were in the 80s watching the movie, even those who watched the Armada trilogy, but even then, they're old enough to have disposable income. They're the collectors now too. And like, I think it could have been an online retail kind of thing rather than a HasLab. And part of me believes they did the HasLab to kind of be like, you have to pay for it first before you can see any reviews about it, before you can find out what this is like. Because I've seen so many reviews about Unicron that at this point I'm like, I'm kind of glad I didn't get one.
Me too.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, me too. Like, so I want to get back to what you were saying, Mike. So, I would be really curious, and I know we probably will never find out, but I'd be really curious to find out like how different the target sales numbers for HasLab
Yeah.
figures are in comparison to mainline figures, or to something like Masterpiece, which, Scott, you brought up as like the closest thing to like a HasLab, because like I have an Optimus Prime, the MP44 one, and he's incredible, but he's a display piece for me. Like, I'm not fiddling with him, like he's on display over here. But, I would just be wondering, like, how different are the sales numbers for them justifying picking what becomes a HasLab versus a mainline figure. And I do agree with you that I think Unicron could have been an online retail exclusive thing, maybe with a specific store. But, I think it would have gotten so many bad reviews that the sales would have tanked, because everyone I've read, seen reviews on, it's just so big that it's like cumbersome to do anything with it.
It is something like it's like your Optimus Prime, but for all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because it's a beautiful display piece. I mean, it is from the front, because the back is very panely, but like, it's not a toy to play with. It has like some of these cool features and whatnot, but like literally it's going to just take up space and look cool. And that's it. Because so many people have talked about that. Yeah, it's a cool display piece, but as a toy, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really doesn't do as much as it should for something that is that big. And you can't pose it because it's just so cumbersome. The transformation is absolutely heinous.
Mm-hmm.
It is an afternoon, and it's panels. It's not even an intuitive transformation at all. It's just unfolding the panels and squishing the robot in it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like I've lost the thought on this one, because I don't remember what we were talking about to start this, and now it's just me bitching about Unicron. And I don't even have one, so like I really have no reason to complain. I just know based on what I've seen, I'm glad I don't have one, and I have a lot of thoughts on it, especially because that one did come down to the wire, and there's some kind of speculation on why did it succeed.
Yeah.
Well, kind of to your point there, and this is actually something I've heard kind of spoken online, is HasLab has become not so much a campaign, not so much a thing where it's looking to get like the most interesting things made anymore, but effectively is just becoming here, be sure to pre-order all this stuff before you actually like buy it. Because I mean, I've noticed it, like especially after Victory Saber, when they did the reissue of the Sky Striker, that was just a meh kind of release for me. And a lot of the releases after that have been there's been a lot of failures after that, but also just a lot of kind of unimaginative and uninteresting campaigns. Like the Rancor failed, the big lightsaber failed, Ghost Rider failed, Heroescape failed. The Giant Man figure, I mean, it's a giant figure, sure, but it's also a giant figure, which they've done before with a bunch of faceplates that they change up. They didn't even include any extra figures with it, like they did with Galactus and Sentinel. I mean, I guess
to be fair, it's half the price.
Yeah, that is true. You can say that the G.I. Joe stuff has been, very successful. And even the Ghost from the vintage collection has also been very successful as well. But it feels like the first, again, not including Cookie Monster, but the first 5 or 6 campaigns have felt epic, have felt that sense of grandeur and wonder with it. Whereas the ones like after that, from like the Sky Striker onwards, just don't necessarily feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of that has to do with a pricing issue a little bit. And I always say a little bit because it's you can only see it reflected kinda, because like the Rancor was over 300, it failed. Now the Proton Pack succeeded, but that was also, I mean, a life-size role-playing Proton Pack is a pretty big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Like I think
backpack size.
Yeah. And then you have a lightsaber that's more than that. It's $500. It's too much money. Ghost Rider failed at $350. I've already said my piece on that. That's an insane price tag. And Heroescape, I don't know. Again, it was a game I had heard of. It might have been too niche. But everything else, if you look at it, is succeeding. Aside from the Ghost and the Proton Pack, nothing really breaks like $300. And I want to believe that might be part of it because, I mean, I'm just speaking, I keep talking about Transformers because those are the ones I know. Those are the campaigns I saw. And as I said, Unicron came down to the wire, and it's still kind of sketchy about how it crossed the finish line. We're not entirely sure if it legitimately did or if they just pushed it and said, no, it did. Victory Saber, like, smashed it. Victory Saber got all of its goals, and I think they looked at both of those and said, okay, what was different? And I think they realized, we got to lower the price tags on some of these a little bit because that's got to have some kind of influence on it. Especially when you look at the ones that have succeeded, where most of these that are up here succeeding past Victory Saber are under $300.
Yeah.
And the ones that go above it, it's like, no. I just, there's a value kind of thing in it. And I think, and a lot of it has to do with size too. A lot of it has to do with size because that Rancor for the vintage collection, it's not going to be that big. It's not going to be as big as a ship like the Razor Crest was, or Jabba's sail barge, or the Ghost. Like, those are big things because they're ships. The Rancor is not going to be that big. Ghost Rider was tiny and had a huge price tag. And Heroescape was a board game, and $250 for a board game, that's a lot of money.
It was probably like $40, $50 originally. Yeah.
So $250 is a lot of money, and I think it's going to be a comparison of size and money, and yeah, I think that's got to be part of it.
Yeah, I think the key is keeping it under $300. I also do think that they're picking projects in general now that are more safe. Like, as in, like, they, it's something that if they wanted to go to retail with a lot of this stuff, they could. It may not have all the features, or they might have to, like, downplay some of the engineering a bit. Like, I think I heard something about, like, if Deathsaurus had been made for retail, they were going to retool the Grimlock mold. Like, I heard something about that. I don't remember the source or anything, but
I mean, in all fairness, transform Deathsaurus and tell me that's not just a fancy Grimlock transformation.
That's true. That's true. They could have just taken that from Studio Series, I
mean, he wouldn't have been as big, and he wouldn't have been as detailed, and he probably wouldn't have the chest gimmick. But, like, I've also said my piece on Deathsaurus with you guys, haven't I? Did we talk about this at some point? And I complained then. Why do I complain when I'm with you two? I don't want to complain.
Because you're with the B team. It's a safe space. You can.
Why am I the negative Why am I the negative Nelly?
I feel like we have had this conversation before about Deathsaurus. I feel like history is repeating.
Well, speaking of which, let's actually move on to our experiences with HasLab. I'm going to take the floor for just a minute here, because I actually haven't had the chance to talk about Omega Prime at all, even on the main show. So I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to do that. But I do want to hear what you guys have to say about just your experiences so far with, I'm imagining it's mostly Transformers, but for any of them. So I considered backing Unicron. I did not. Just because financially it just wasn't in the cards at the time. But if I had the money, I probably would have done it. I backed Victory Saber right at the end, literally on the last day, literally a half hour before it was going to end, while we were recording a transmissions cast, and all those jerks pressured me into getting one. But I did, and I enjoy it, and it's a good figure, and I like that I got it. Deathsaurus, I went ahead and I got him. It's like, all right, cool. Yeah, I knew I was going to do it. I'm not going to just leave that set incomplete. But I did. I got both of those. Omega Prime is the first Transformers one that I have intentionally decided just not to back. And the reason, at least for me, the reasons for it were that it was just so similar to the original. And I have the original. I don't need to spend like what, $250 for what is effectively a slightly retooled and slightly improved version of the original figure. Hell, I have 2 copies of the original figure because I wanted to have one in Prime mode, and then one in the Prime and Magnus mode, and then one in the combined mode. I simply don't need another figure like that is effectively the same thing. So that's why I decided not to purchase it or not to back it. It was way too similar. The other ones that came up, the Star Wars stuff, kind of like you guys said, like I'm a casual fan of Star Wars, but I'm not a $500 fan of Star Wars. So I'm not going to buy a giant ship. The only thing I might buy is, if I ever find my way to do it, maybe a Lego Millennium Falcon. That'd be cool. But beyond that, no. I mean, I saw the whole thing. Like, I saw the campaigns for it. Like, the Ghost looks pretty amazing. It's got like 3 or 4 figures to it. And it's like, you can take the whole thing apart, and it's just an amazing looking ship. It's great. Just not for me. Same thing with the G.I. Joe stuff. Like, out of anything though, I think the G.I. Joe classified ones would be the ones that I would probably be most tempted by. Just because I have a couple of classified figures, and having a vehicle for them might be kind of cool. I really considered the HISS tank. I never pulled the trigger on it. And yeah, the Ghostbuster stuff doesn't appeal to me at all. Like, I don't need any replica stuff like that. Same reason the Star Wars lightsaber didn't appeal to me. And if I'm being honest, I have the original HeroScape. I'm kind of glad it didn't succeed, because that shit is worth like $200 for the base set now. It's like, you know what? Let me go ahead and keep my super valuable board game now. But yeah, so that's been my experience with them so far. Only Transformers are the ones that I backed, and then just casually looked at the other ones as they were coming out. That Ghost Rider, I had zero interest in that Ghost Rider, zero interest in the Rancor. Just nothing.
I keep tabs on all of them, but I'm not going to buy like anything but Transformers at this point. Like, I'm really trying to not branch into other things like that require space, because Transformers always requires a lot of space, and it's like, I don't need like, I'm finding I need to not be taking up so much space. I have to be very selective now.
Quitter.
But yeah, like, because it's like, it can get so easily where it's just like you run out of space for them, and then like, it's a lot of upkeep to dust. So in regards to the HasLab stuff, I love seeing everything, because I'm really curious about like, marketing campaigns and how they pick things, and the whole process that goes into picking and choosing these, and just seeing it unfold. I almost got a Unicron, but I believe it just wasn't in. I didn't have the money to buy it. Yeah. I had a few friends who are like not Transformers people message me when it came out. They knew about it, and they're like, "Oh, you need to buy this and hang it from your ceiling." And, it's a display piece, and Unicron is planet mode, and I considered doing it, but then like I actually got measuring tape and measured out how big it would be, and I'm just like, I did it, and I'm like, no. And then I was like, well, maybe I could put it over here. This is in my different apartment. I was like, maybe I could just put it on the counter here and it could live here. But then it's like $600 is a lot of money. So yeah, I decided no. I'm very glad I did not buy one. But I did back Victory Saber, and I actually sold it. I had it for months, and I never opened it, and I was like, you know what? I don't want it. I opened it once just to make sure everything was in the box, and I was just like, at the time, like, I had a lot going on, and I was just like, you know what, like, I'm not really thrilled about this, so I'm going to sell it. And I really did, part of me did back it, hoping that if it was successful, we would get Desaurus. And as you can see behind me, I still have my Desaurus, and I think it's fantastic. I don't think it needed to be a HasLab, that I am very glad that I backed it, so I have him. I did not back Omega Prime. I'm very thrilled for people who are huge fans of that character in the set. I think it's good that we're acknowledging and celebrating all different things Transformers, not just G1. And what I even like about, HasLab with Victory Saber and Desaurus, it's the continuation of G1 that a lot of fans, don't have access to. It's the Japanese version, which is cool. It's not like the traditional G1 when we think G1, which is, Optimus Prime and Megatron and like Rodimus and the Transformers, the movie. So I'm just really glad that they're branching into acknowledging the other lines of Transformers. So that's my experience with it so far.
Well, I've already said I backed Desaurus. I have Desaurus. I like Desaurus. I don't think it needed to be a HasLab. I honestly am still of the mindset it could have been a Commander class or even maybe a Titan class figure. But
okay,
we're past that. I did back Desaurus right away because I backed Victory Saber right away. I love Star Saber, Victory Saber. That design is absolutely fantastic. I am a Transformers and Gundam fan, and if you could take those two things and put them together, the design you would get is going to be Star Saber. That's what that is, and I love that design. And plus, he's a robot swordsman from space. And also, his whole concept is basically Power Master Optimus Prime, who is my favorite version of Optimus Prime. I backed that right away, and Char, it makes me so sad that you sold it and never played around with it. Because in all honesty, if you love Desaurus, Victory Saber was such a cool figure. Oh my God, the stuff that thing does. It's back there. It's right there. He's so cool. He's so cool.
Is he a big bot?
He is a big bot. We did an episode on that. I think we did an episode on that like right after they shipped. Because Darryl and I both had them, so we did an episode like that. But
okay.
No, I love both those figures. They are very cool display pieces. I think Victory Saber is a bit better because it was two figures that could combine, they could individually transform, and there's like basically 7 different things in there between alt modes and tiny little robots and smaller robots and bigger robots and bigger robots. But I did not keep track of any of the other ones that weren't Transformers, except the Ghost Rider one, because I saw somebody on Twitter talk about it. I'm like, what? Because I actually, I read the Robbie Reyes run for a while, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, cool, he's getting a figure. And when I saw that price tag, I'm just like, that is insane. What are you doing? So I expected that one to fail. There was no way that was going to work.
That's a great example of what you were talking about, or what both of you were talking about, where it's a figure that could have just gone to retail. Like it didn't need to be HasLab.
I am shocked that Robbie Reyes figure hasn't just been released as a Marvel Legends figure yet. I'm expecting it's going to be just without the car because they will make a figure out of anything. Yeah, spite. The spirit of spite. I know it's vengeance, but still. Omega Prime, the minute it got announced, boom, I backed it. I love Omega Prime. I had the RID Optimus Prime when it came out in 2001. I love that figure. I never had Ultra Magnus to combine up until a couple years ago. And I love that figure. It is a beautiful looking figure, but it is a brick. It stands there. It is not posable. It has to stand one specific way, and if it moves a little bit, the legs are just going to go whoop, or it's going to fall backwards, or it's going to fall forwards. It has lights and sounds, which are cool and everything, and the combination's really cool. Ultra Magnus is garbage. he is a parts former, and he is nothing but an accessory pack for Optimus Prime. Now, he does have a cool alt mode. I will give him that. But his robot mode is absolute crap. He is 75% leg.
Oh, wow.
He did not skip leg day.
No. So with the new Omega Prime, like, I am 100% for it because, number one, it does all the stuff I want it to do. Yeah, it doesn't have lights and sounds. Okay, I'll let it go. And yeah, the missile launchers don't have spring-loaded action. Oh no, kids are gonna choke. We gotta stop doing that.
Did they redesign the legs?
On Magnus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they redesigned the feet, but did they redesign the whole leg?
Yeah, because he's way more proportional than he was before. He's still a lot of leg, but he is not like his legs are straight up and down the whole time, just these giant monoliths of plastic. He is a little bit better now. Just the fact that I can have that figure and I can put it in something a bit more dynamic, but still get basically a very similar figure. Omega Prime is one of those that if they put out more figures of that character, I would get it. In fact, I am constantly on the fence about looking at the Banana Force one that didn't transform because the figure's just so damn cool looking. So they got me with the Omega Prime. And the fact that that thing hit its goals as quick as it did is insane to me. I didn't think it would do well. But I am 100% with you that it's really nice they are acknowledging things that are not just G1. I am sick and tired of just G1 all the time. G1 was like this much time in Transformers. This much. Let it go.
Yes.
There are technically more seasons of Beast Wars than of G1.
Those are some fighting words.
Yeah.
Well, there's 4 seasons of American G1, and then, 3 Japanese ones? There's 3 seasons of Beast Wars. There's Beast Machines. Oh, crap, I might have misjudged it, because then there's Beast Wars 2nd, Beast Wars Neo. There's a movie, too, that goes along with that. But, there's so much. The Unicron trilogy was such a huge thing. And, it's good to see they're acknowledging it. But then, where's Car Robots? Yes, we're finally getting some of that. Also, I felt like a while there, they were also milking the Prime animated or the Prime well a lot. And it's where was animated? Now we're getting that. But
yeah,
there's and there's other Japanese things that have never seen the light of day. Like Transformers Go. Why aren't we celebrating that?
Yeah.
Might be nice to see some actual good figures of that. If I remember right, the proportions of the combined ones were kind of
yeah.
One of the combiners is he's right there. He's right.
I'm
there.
glad your video is so small that I can't see it.
I know, right? If you see the little orange things poking off to the side, that's the lion face.
Oh, I see him.
yeah. They are fun figures, but they are very badly proportioned. But
yeah.
So yeah. And there was no consideration for backing Unicron. There was no way I was going to have that kind of money. If it costs more than a PlayStation 5, no. I'm sorry, no. PlayStation 5 comes first. It is one of those things that I, too, had everyone messaging me being like, have you seen this? Yes, I've seen this. You need to get it. No. If it shows up, if one of you wants to buy it and ship it to me, by all means. The same thing happened with the Roboson Optimus Prime and the Roboson Grimlock. It's just guys, I don't have that kind of money. If you think I need it, go ahead.
Yeah, buy it for me. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. And it's something gimmicky. And you bring up a good point that G1 is such a small point in Transformers history, because wasn't the longest running Transformers show Rescue Bots? Episode wise? And we have one figure. One figure, from the Legacy line.
Technically 2, because Medics.
Oh,
who wasn't
Medics,
exclusive, but Medics is one. But you are correct.
Yeah.
We have 2.
Yeah.
Before it gets too late, let's take a look at the future of HasLab, kind of what we want to see over here. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I would love to see an animated Omega Supreme. Speaking of animated, right? I would absolutely love to see this figure, and I was kind of hoping for that too. Like when Omega Prime was first teased, and it was like Omega coming or whatever it was. I was like, are they going to do it? Are they actually going to do it? I would have been totally on board with it, but they did not. They did Omega Prime, which, oh well. But that's something that I would really love to see, and I would really love to see it as a HasLab, because I think that they could do more with it than they have with the Titan class stuff. I picked up the arc when it first came out, and I was a bit disappointed, just because it was a very simplistically designed figure in a Titan size scale. I would love to see a ship transformer like that, but that has, more to it. It just has more in there. That's the big thing that I would love to see. And I'm a big fan of Fort Max, so I would certainly love for them to do something Fort Max related. I keep on trying to hope that Fans Toys Masterpiece Fort Max comes out, but we're
talking about spending money. Holy God!
You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it.
The head alone, like Hannibal, the head alone was what, 200, 250?
It was, 250. Yeah, I did pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, I would certainly love like a Fort Max figure. Certainly. Don't know what they're going to do with it, because they already did a Titan size one, but I'm up for them to give it a shot. But you guys, what do you want to see?
In the vein of doing the Japanese stuff, I would love them to do a legitimate Lio Kaiser who is not a Combiner Wars cheap cash grab.
Okay.
Where they're like, oh, we're not even gonna put Cerberus or Leozak in there. We're gonna make a, oh my God.
It was the Skylinks mold.
Thank you. I couldn't remember Skylinks' name for a second. We're going to repaint Skylinks and call it Desaurus. And it's like, can I get a Leo Kaiser, please? Like this huge, really cool combiner. It's a 6-member combiner. I'm sure we could do a HasLab for it. I mean, it could technically be a Titan class, but with it being a Japanese one, I think it fits into the HasLab thing. Also, and I originally said this, but now I'm second guessing if it'll ever happen, because they just announced a masterpiece for it. I want a God Jinrai. I want a good God Jinrai. The one from Titan's Return, he's okay. He fits the bill a little bit, but he's wobbly, and he needs about like 3 upgrade kits to be halfway decent. So like, I would like them to put the stuff that they did with Victory Saber and Desaurus, like if they could put that kind of engineering into a God Jinrai and give him the like the whole Jinrai, Super Jinrai, God armor like pack, like give me that. I would love to see that done really well. Now again, they did just announce a masterpiece, which surprisingly is under $300.
Yeah,
for the whole thing. So I have I have pre-ordered it. I'm a little leery, but I have pre-ordered that because I also love I love Power Master Prime, God Jinrai, all that stuff. Those are mine. I honestly don't know what else they could do that couldn't be done technically in some kind of retail.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we've gotten so many of the bigger figures in some way. Heck, we've even gotten a Die Atlas. It was it was a Generation Selects or whatever it was at that point. I mean, it still did the full big powered thing.
Sure.
And in all honesty, I don't think that mold was bad for Die Atlas. Actually, I don't think that mold was bad at all. I think the worst one was Overlord, which is funny because it was an Overlord mold.
Yeah.
So it's really funny. I think he's the worst one, but yeah, I just don't know what else to do. An animated Omega Supreme would be cool, but I'm actually surprised they didn't somehow retool the arc into that. as a Generation Selects.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, they redid Scorponok into Black Zarek, and while they're very similar, they were different toys, different heads, different accessories, some different parts. You could have changed the arc around enough to make it an animated Omega Supreme. You had an Omega Supreme head lying around, just like glue it on there and sell it. Like,
Yeah.
Fort Max, I would like to see a better Fort Max than the Titans Return one.
Yeah.
Because he's fine. I actually believe all the Titans are very simplistic, except for the two combiners. Because like Predaking and Devastator are pretty involved and pretty posable in their own right and actually look really good. All the other Titans are very simple and not very posable. Oh, except for the Omega Supreme. I think the Omega Supreme is actually pretty posable and pretty complicated. And the fact that I think they're reissuing the Fortress Maximus.
I think so.
Are they? Oh,
I believe there were a whole bunch of things that got announced for reissue, and I want to say that Fort Max got announced as a reissue because I think people were pissed it wasn't Metroplex. Because where's Metroplex? That was the one city former I was missing.
So I didn't have any thoughts before the show, but I am surprised we don't have God Jinrai, especially because we got Black Zarak a few years ago, because he was the main villain, right?
He was until the he was at the end, but for a while there it was kind of like Overlord was the foil.
Yeah.
I think they more did it to keep it up with the fact that there was a God Jinrai figure, because technically there was one in Titans Return along with Overlord, but I need new figures of both them because they're not great.
Yeah, like I kind of see them doing, God Jinrai, and then if that backs, which it will, then they would do Overlord as HasLab figures, because, scale wise would be similar to Victory Saber and Deathsaurus probably. And, and if they could put the engineering behind it, with the HasLab resources, they would be incredible figures. And I've heard mixed things about that masterpiece that's coming out for Jinrai. So it's, really interesting. So I kind of suspect that's the direction they'll go in. But an animated Omega Supreme would be interesting to see too, especially with all the love animated is getting lately and how successful it is. I see tweets all the time with, the animated Optimus sold out. It's posted and it's sold out. And so, it'll be interesting to see what they decide next. That's for sure.
I think my only issue with them doing an Omega Supreme is they would do it the way they've done a lot of the animated figures and those figures lately, where they kind of take the animated style off of them.
Yeah.
And that bothers me because I'm really glad they made a new animated Prime, because it's a cool design. It's a cool figure, but I like the original one so much better. It looks like it jumped out of the show. And like the new Bumblebee doesn't quite look right. Prowl was really kind of short and stocky. And I think if they did do any animated ones, I don't think it would have the same kind of feel that. And Mike, it was your pick, so I don't know. You might be okay with that. But me personally, like if they bring anything animated out, I want it to look like animated. I want it to look like it came off that screen.
Yeah, I think, especially if it's going to like sit with the your old animated shelf, then I think it should.
Yeah, because like they are kind of G1ifying both animated and like the Transformers Prime reissued figures in Legacy, like RC and Knockout, and I think they like they make them have noses and they're like stockier looking.
So that's the funny thing is they did it with Knockout, Bulkhead, and RC, and then they did Skyquake and Dreadwind, and they kind of walked it back, where they look quite a bit more like less G1ified. I feel because the face looks like the animated face. And for the animated figures, I feel they keep a bit more than the Prime figures did. The Prime looks very much like they just G1ified it.
Yeah.
Like that Legacy Prime RC. Ugh.
I know.
That's not Prime RC. I don't know what you were doing, but man, oh man, come on.
So one thing that I think that I would actually love to see, not in terms of the figures, but in terms of the way they handle the campaign, maybe some more transparency in pricing. Simply because these campaigns are not even the cheaper ones, which Victory Saber and Deathsaurus have been at the 180 mark, which I think have been like the cheapest ones there. But at the same time, like these aren't super cheap figures. You know, you can't just say like, all right, let me just go ahead and toss down a $300 thing on these. Like if Hasbro tries to sell like a Titan, usually we have some idea that, hey, it's coming down the line. Let's, if you're interested in the arc, make certain, you have some money put aside for it, yada, 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 all that. I think that having at least an idea of pricing kind of before it comes up, that way we at least have some prep time for something like this. Because again, I think for a lot of people, for Unicron, kind of the big story in this one was just not enough money. And maybe if they had some time to kind of prep it and make certain, like, okay, let me save up money for a while, and then, all right, I'm going to get the Unicron. But it was $600 figure, 40 days. It was just way too short a time. So that's one thing that I wish they would change, is just some transparency to pricing. And, I get they don't want to reveal it too soon, but have an idea like, okay, hey, Transformers figure coming out in 6 months. We'll make an announcement. Price point of $250. Okay.
Even if they announced it a month ahead of time saying, hey, this campaign is going to start this day, be ready. And then you give people say a month lead into when the campaign starts and that goes on for a month. Even that would be better.
Yeah.
Because I think even most Kickstarters and other crowd funds, I think they have a thing up there that's like, hey, the campaign starts on this day, and they have like pages set up beforehand before just dropping it, being like, boom, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a 2-month process too, where it's announced and then it's a 30-day thing on Kickstarter versus it being like, oh, here it is. It's going to be you don't know if you're spending $200 or $600, on this figure. And I do think they should be more considerate to fans so they can budget appropriately, because if they're expecting people to just put these on credit cards, it's not sustainable business model.
Yeah,
especially with those $400 or $500 ones. I mean, the 180 ones, okay, yeah, it's not awful, but for those without the easy disposable income, it's just not going to work.
No, but 180 still fits into the I don't want to say casual fan, but that's a Titan class figure. That's a general sale figure nowadays. So that kind of fits. $250 for Omega Prime was a bit pricey. Yeah. But I kind of understood, given the size of the figures and everything, it's bigger than Victory Saber is going to be altogether with all the parts.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, let's, any kind of final words on this one? I think that was the final thing that I really wanted to talk about, is just the transparency on pricing and maybe at least some lead in time to that. Anything else that, do you guys want to add? Any pressing issues you want to get off your chest?
I've been holding on to this because I wasn't sure when to put it in, because you talked about it. You went past it, Mike. The Power Rangers thing. Why haven't they done any Power Rangers campaigns? Because they own that license. So I have a couple of things behind it. Number one, they've done Lightning Collection Megazords. I think they've done 2. They did the OG Megazord, and I think they did the Space Megazord, the first one. And they're just in the Lightning Collection. They're just regular retail figures that you can go out and you can buy online. I think some of them were in stores at some point. I don't know. What would they do? Because if they're just putting out regular Megazords, what do you do for Power Rangers that's a HasLab that's that big and worth it? Because they wouldn't just re-release stuff. They've done that already. I'm pretty sure they've re-released like half of the Megazords out there from like the classic series we all grew up with. So I don't know what they would do with Power Rangers for a HasLab, because the Megazords just go to regular retail, unless like, well, no, I was gonna say unless you release like the full Ultra Megazord thing from the original series, but I'm pretty sure the Lightning Collection Megazord also has a Lightning Collection Dragon Zord, or they've announced it. And then you're only missing one piece, and it's Titanus, and I can't imagine they would just do a HasLab for that.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be one of those things that they're just like, nope, we're just releasing that too. And I don't know what they would do, because I don't think there's any piece in I almost said Transformers. Whoa. In Power Rangers, it's like that big to go HasLab. Unless they just start doing like the full collection of Zords from a season as like a box set or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they've also, if I heard it correctly, they've given up on the Lightning Collection.
Huh.
And as it is right now, there are currently no Power Ranger series going on. There is nothing planned for TV at the moment. I think they said the next series comes out in like 2025. Wow. Because I'm not sure. Some other Power Rangers fan can like quote me more on this, but I think they want to rebrand it a little bit and go less continuity with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Power Rangers up until this most recent series, Cosmic Fury, was still tied to the original season. Because even like some of those Power Rangers came back. I think Billy was there.
Yeah, Billy was there.
Yeah, so like I think they want to like reboot the series and go away from continuity. That doesn't mean they can't do old stuff, but I'm just wondering if it's still doing well or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And Hasbro is putting out other stuff through other companies, because they just put out a Flame Toys Kurakuri, the expensive figures. They just did a Megazord for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh.
So I just don't know what they would do with Power Rangers at this point.
Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that they actually were off TV now.
The last thing they did was Cosmic Fury. It was on Netflix, and I think it was only 6 episodes. And it was basically a way to finish up the entire Power Rangers series.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, like in Japan, the Super Sentai's still going. Their new season's out, and they're doing stuff. I just don't know what Hasbro is going to do going forward in terms of what Sentai is doing and bringing the footage over here and using it. I don't know.
I know we touched on this in the beginning, but HasLabs right now to me feel more like just like a glorified pre-order, and then you have to wait a year to get your product instead of like waiting a few months. I wish they would include more incentives to pre-order, or, not just like a new accessory, like maybe, I don't know, maybe like an autograph of like or something, or like, designer notes, like an art book or something, like, something to like really personalize it. Maybe it's like because there's obviously these are numbered pieces and pointed to source. Like maybe it's like, when you buy like an art piece, you have like 13 of 10,000 or something. Maybe like, some sort of thing that makes it like a personalized touch, which is great with Kickstarter. Kickstarter does a good job with incentivizing people, just give us like, instead of like these tiers where we're unlocking the accessories that should come with the figure to begin with, like really includes stuff that where it's like, oh yeah, this is a collector's piece. This isn't just a glorified pre-order. Like I have like a plaque, like there could be like a plaque with the disc source where it's like, yeah, this is number 13 of 10,000 or whatever they made. And, or like, notes from the designer, who designed the toy, and like talking about like the process of it. And, and I know they do some videos for that, but I don't know, just like, make it better than it just being a pre-order. Make it more special. That's what I think they should do.
I can get behind the art book idea. I certainly love those.
I have a counterpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is one of my biggest complaints when I'm on regular transmissions and we talk about the tiers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they all say, "Oh, it's accessories that should come with the figure," and I'm sitting here going, "The shield for Starsaber was used in one episode. It does not need to come with him. It's one episode." Deathsaurus's like living metal destroying cannon, I think, shows up at just the end of the series. Like, it is not a big accessory. What is the Matrix blade coming with Omega Prime? It's used at the very end of the series, and that is it. Honestly, those accessories are tiers for me because it's like, it's one episode. It doesn't need to be there. It's the same way I feel about, God, what was it? Was it Masterpiece Sunstreaker came with that stupid alien mask he could put on from like one episode?
Yep.
Like, when you include that in the figure, you're upping the price because you're adding more plastic in. That is like, it's increasing the price, and I don't need it. I don't need it to be there. But if something pre-orders really well and it's like, oh, well, then now we can include this, I get it. On that note, the other part of Omega Prime's backers, like the tier 2, is absolute garbage. That road stand is dumb. Like, Starsaber's stand is cool looking. The big V, like, and it can change depending on if he's in flight mode or if he's in robot mode. It's really cool. Deathsaurus's throne, amazing. Absolutely love it. The Omega Prime stand is just trash. I hate it. That one should not be a tier. Another note is, I'm pretty sure that, we talked about how the G.I. Joe and the Marvel stuff got extra figures. We technically got extra figures with Starsaber and Deathsaurus also. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were Micromasters, but they were extra characters. And the ones that came with Deathsaurus were original molds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because Victory Sabers were just repaints of ones we had gotten over here. Which, understandable. They were repaints of, like, American ones. I get it. But we hadn't gotten the ones for Deathsaurus, and they did original molds. And actually, I love those 2 Micromasters. They may be the best 2 Micromasters I own from the whole, like, War for Cybertron series. But, I don't know. The tier thing is weird, and I don't know what should be a tier and what shouldn't be. But I'm all for the whole... If it's a very minimal utilized accessory, by all means, make it a tier. Do not add it into the figure to artificially increase the price. That's me. That's my rant again. I'm sorry. It's just
Don't apologize for ranting. We need you to rant. This is why we're on here.
I know. I like to be positive about this stuff because I really love it. But it's like, but also I rant because other people rant about this stuff. Yeah. And I hate to see all the negativity. There's too much negativity in this fandom. And therefore I'm bringing more negativity. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just, like, for me, you're coming from a place that you care about it.
In a way, but like other people care about it too. Like the people were like, "Oh, Starsaber should come with a shield because his Masterpiece toy came with a shield. His G1 toy came with a shield. Why doesn't this one?" Yeah. And I get it. But at the same time, it's like, role play, like playtime kind of thing. Like, do we need it?
No, but I'm super happy with the quality, though. If we're going to end on a positive note, super happy with the quality of Deathsaurus. I do wish I would have opened up Victory Saber. Maybe I would have kept him if I had done that, but I had too much going on at that time in my life, so I ended up just parting. But I'm very happy with Deathsaurus. I think he poses very well. I'm very thrilled with how he looks. And the colors are really nice. Like, I love the colors on him and just the throne that comes with it. It's just like the box art, beautiful box art. So impressive. I wish it would have came with a print. See, like, this is where, like, I wish it had a print because I would frame that as a poster, but I'm not going to flatten my box to do that. But it's just, I'm very impressed with the quality of the figures. Like, it's not exactly Masterpiece level because I feel like Masterpiece is a little above, but
Yeah.
a little above, but like it's still very impressive. It's I'm very pleased with my Desaurus.
And I think we will end on a nice positive note like that. Thank you two for joining me. Anything you'd like to plug before we head out?
No.
Go watch Nerdstradamus on YouTube, please. Go watch our stuff. We haven't posted in a while, but there's how many years of videos have we been doing this? 8 years? There's 8 years worth of videos. Please go watch our stuff. Please.
The Zelda playthroughs are really fun. The Ocarina of Time playthroughs. I watched some of those live, and they were very fun. They brought me a lot of joy.
Oh,
Nice.
if you haven't watched our old Ocarina of Time playthrough, go find the Water Temple episode. I lose my will to live.
All right. Thanks for joining me, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us. It's always a blast.
And we will see you guys next time.
Go B team.
Later.